All right, so you're going to go to the press conference, which I am not going to go to, and you're going to ask a
You're
question.
leaving me alone.
I listen, I got to tell you, from a content standpoint,
Yeah, I
what
know.
like what comes out of it is what comes out of it. But I listen. So what's the question? Have you thought about this, or you're thinking about which question to ask?
I can't imagine anyone's just going to let me go into a press conference with a microphone in front of people unbridled. So I don't know if I'm going to be told what to ask. I don't know if I'm going to be told what to stay away from. I don't know,
So
you
you're the
know,
ringer. You're going to be in there.
yeah, I don't know what the parameters are. I mean, I'm not out to do anything, nefarious, but I mean, there's some questions, there's some things that I want to know about. And I think a lot of it boils down to why Nick Walker is not in the Olympia again this year. So remember last show we were saying there's a rumor somebody big is dropping out. Now we know who it is,
And the
and
world stopped. Did you hear? I felt it. My
yeah,
life will. I will remember where I was when I heard the news. No, it's fine. Look, I mean, it stinks. It's probably not something that you want to do, especially when you take all that time to prep. But hey, what can you do? Some
well,
Nico says Miss Mick Dick Walker is being Mr. Simp 2024. Why did he just say he wasn't feeling it? He
what
wasn't.
what does that mean, Mister Simp?
Um. Well, it's not a term of endearment. Like,
You got to translate for the old man.
I think he's saying that like it's a cop out. I think is what he's saying. He's saying he's being like a wiener, maybe. I don't know.
Well, there's a couple big things about this that okay. Number one, let's just unpack it.
Sure.
Okay, number one is I think the biggest egregious issue about him dropping out is that he's being allowed to drop out. He's not sick. Apparently, he doesn't say he's sick. Apparently his health is okay. It's just been reported that it was decided between him and his coach that his
Okay.
body's not responding. He doesn't look as well as he should, and so he's not going. You can't do that. You're supposed to take the loss. If the guy is not on point and he enters, he's contractually obligated to enter the show. Okay, the
People
promoters
drop
have
out all the
spent,
time, though.
but the promoters have spent money promoting the fact that he's competing. Okay, in every other case that this has happened, the guy a contentious medical issue, just not being in shape enough to compete was never a reason not to compete. You had to go in. If you didn't look good, you took the loss. You took 10th place, 6th place, whatever, when you should have taken second or third. That's the way it is. That's the rule of the game. Okay, that's actually part of the game. Part of the game is peaking on time. So if you blow that for whatever reason, whether it's in your control or out of your control, it's still you who are obligated to compete. So to just be able to drop out is hugely unfair to the other guys that had to compete and take the loss. So that's issue number one.
I don't know if I agree with
Issue
that,
number,
dude.
what's that?
I don't know if I agree with that reasoning.
What,
Just because, I mean,
but
if
that's the rules.
okay, but I mean,
That's,
he's
I'm
doing
not
it. I
making
mean,
I'm not
you
making
can't
it
force,
up.
but you can't force the guy to show up. It's not like he's at
No,
gunpoint. Like,
you can't. No, you can't force him to show up. But contractually, I mean,
right,
I haven't read any paperwork, so this is just
right.
out there. Okay, if he is contractually obligated to compete, which I believe most of these guys are once they agree to compete, and the only real out is a medical issue, then you're obligated to compete.
Yeah.
The promoters promoted the fact they spent money. They promoted the fact you're competing. You're part of the deal. You're on the poster. Now you're not showing up. You're not showing up. Why? Because you don't think you look good. Well, number one, that's the judge's job to determine that. Number two, it's your mistake. You got to eat it. Number three, where's the guru? What happened to all of the faith and promise in the gurus? I mean, what happened to him? So, everything's great when you win and you do well, then the guru is God, and then their stock goes up. But you turn the case around now. Where's the guru? Okay, so we're not hearing
Yeah.
anything from him. The contention is, at least according to Dave Palumbo, who I spoke with the other day, and he put out a statement on RX Muscle that what he saw was, what his contention is that Nick was taking fake gear, that he just looked natural. His body wasn't responding to the drugs, and that his gear was fake.
So where do you get that info from?
This is, I guess, his supposition.
Okay.
We don't test anything. We don't know. This is all. Nobody's going to know anything. That's really the take home here. No one's
Yeah.
going to know anything. No one's going to admit anything. We're never going to see any blood work. We're never going to see any, real reason for why this happened. So all we know is, all year we've been waiting for Nick Walker to compete because we thought he should have, because we missed him competing last year, and
Yeah.
many
Right.
people, including me, thought he would have won last year if he had competed. So that whole hottie, Derek thing wouldn't even be an issue right now. Now it's the brunt of the show. So while he should be technically Mr. Olympia right now, the fact that he's not even competing again for the second year in a row not only lets everybody down, but it also opens this Pandora box about the drugs. So is he really going to? I haven't heard the statement from him. This is all supposition. But my question is, and this is what I would love to ask at the press conference, is Nick going to blame his reason for not competing on fake drugs? Or is it just going to be some mysterious element of microbiology that, caused his body to not respond, that he's beat? I mean, I heard that too, that he said he was, his body was shot. He needed a rest. He needed a break. I don't know, break from what? I mean, he didn't compete last year. He's not competing. He hasn't competed at all in 2 years, other than the New York Pro to qualify.
Qualify, right? So I guess I'm still going back to. So I didn't know that. So basically, he could be in breach of contract, right? Is what you're saying?
I don't
Possibly.
know. He
Okay.
could be. I don't want to go out on record saying he
Right. I'm
is.
not
I
saying just
don't
him, just
know.
in general. Anybody that decides this close to not continue after signing a contract, I guess. I never put two and two together. I never thought of it being like that. But you're right. Like a lot of money goes into the promotional portions of this. There's a lots of,
That's right.
posters and all those big things, and they're huge, and that costs a lot of money, dude.
A
Like,
lot of money.
and let me tell you, like, numerous times, this type of stuff happens where you start printing something, you got to stop, and then you got to take it back because something
Right.
fell through or something's changed that's drastic. So this has got to be a kick in the gut to a lot of the folks that put together the Olympia. And let me tell you, it's not a huge team. It's not like this enormous sprawling team. It's a lot of it's a handful of people doing 1,000 jobs.
A lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And you got to look at it this way, bro. What's good for one is good for all, right?
Right.
So what if you got 5 guys on the poster, and then all 5 of those guys?
Kevin, that better? Sorry, dude. He said my volume was low.
That's
Kevin, is that any
way
better?
loud. That's like 100 times louder than you were a minute ago.
All right, let me. Is that me? Am I too loud?
Yeah. Wow.
How about now?
Ooh.
Better?
You're still loud, but
Okay. How
I can
about
turn
now?
you down. You're good. Perfect.
Well, it could be your computer volume that's loud. That's
I just turned it down, but you just changed over the course of a second.
okay.
But
All right, well,
anyway,
that's
my
better.
point
Kevin,
is.
please let me know. Thanks for letting me know, Kevin. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So my
Um,
point is, what's good for one is good for all. So
right.
under that premise, you got hypothetically, let's say you got 5 guys on the poster leading up to the Olympia.
Right.
2 weeks before the Olympia, all 5 of those guys say, "Yeah, I don't feel good. I don't think my body looks good. I don't see any veins. I'm not striated enough, so I'm not going to compete." Now you got all 5 guys on the poster not there. What's that do to the promoter? That's like letting the air
Yeah.
out of the car's tires, 2 minutes before the race. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So you got to take
No,
it
I
apart.
do.
it's not a singular issue. It is
No,
a
it's dominoes.
prevailing policy that you compete. Once you decide to compete, you enter the show. You are obligated to compete unless something catastrophic happens. I don't consider your body not responding catastrophic. Maybe somebody else up in the hierarchy does, but I don't think they do. So, if we're going to go down this road that the reason he's not competing is his body wasn't responding or the drugs weren't real, I think that's a really piss poor image for us to be promoting about a sport that's supposed to be regarded as something akin to health and fitness. So, you got to remember, for years and years and years and years and years, the Muscle and Fitness, Flex, all promoted the fact that none of these guys took drugs. The
Yeah, I
drugs
know.
was a taboo issue. You weren't allowed to talk about it. You couldn't mention it. It was under the rug. It was like one of those secret little things that everybody did that nobody talked about. We're going to go from that to now blaming the drugs for not producing an adequate enough competitor
Well,
to go compete. Are you
I
kidding
doubt
me right
you're right.
now?
I don't think look, there's still, I think with the amount of media that's available, right? Because anybody can broadcast themselves, and more and more people are very open about it, about the drugs they take and this all the things that they do to their bodies. I just don't think that they're going to come out and put that out there. I just don't. To me, it's kind of like like you said, it's almost like if you're not having a real conversation about this stuff, then how do you move forward with everything? But I also understand that you're trying desperately to appeal to more mainstream folks, whether or not that's going to work or not, which we haven't seen it work. But I don't know. Like, so I get both sides of it, but I'm curious. And, Lohud said the same thing on here. And Loho, sorry, buddy. And I think it's something you said. How do you get fake drugs? Like, also, I guess is
Oh man.
Jansen, he the guru, he must be well known, right? He's working with a high profile dude. How does that happen?
That was the next part of what I was going to get to. Yeah, going back to the guru. It's like you're building a house. You have a general contractor, and the kitchen cabinets come and none of them fit. Well,
Yeah.
whose fault is that? Well,
Yeah.
ultimately it's the general contractor. He's the guru. So, if you're going to put it out there that you are responsible as the guru for producing a Mr. Olympia, you're not going to look at his drugs and make sure they're not fake, especially if you're getting them from some kind of underground source, which I don't know if that's the case or not, but it might be. I mean, the Roy test kit is 20 fucking bucks. Go spend it and make sure your shit is real. How could you possibly be getting ready for the biggest show on earth after missing it last year and go into contest prep this year and not know that the shit you're using is real or not? Where does that even happen? So,
Dude, I don't know.
this issue is going to blow up because the drug issue now is going to rise to the surface as being, if this is allowed to take place, if he is allowed to drop out of the Olympia because his body's not responding and he doesn't look good, and the blame goes to fake drugs, that's just not going to sell. That dog is not going to hunt. So we're teetering on a real precipice here because
Right.
I don't believe that you can blame the drugs. You just can't do that.
Well, no, I mean, just like the worker can't blame his tools, right? But at the
Mhm.
same time, what I that's if this is true, right? Because we don't know. This is
Right.
just
All if
one
this is
person
true.
coming out and
Right.
saying that. I don't know where the information's coming from. Not to say that he doesn't have better sources than me. I don't have any sources, so this is my only source right here. So I'm going with it on the assumption that there is some validity, but I don't really know. But I do
No,
know that it's a bummer to people that have booked, and also, but it's tough because this dude, he's a young guy, he's a dude, and I don't know, man. Like, he's got his own problems and own issues, so who knows what's really happening? But I do know that, yeah, it's a bummer for people that paid to go to go there and to see him get on stage, but you know, I don't know.
Well, the other thing is the potential, and let me preface this all by saying I like Nick Walker as a
Yeah.
bodybuilder. I thought for sure that he would have won last year if he had competed, and like I said, the whole Hottie Derek thing would never be an issue. So he should be, in my opinion, the reigning Mr. Olympia right now. If he hadn't hurt his hamstring last year, so that being the case, you know I'm looking at the guy. I'm looking at people, fans. Leave me out of it. Who are Nick Walker fans who are coming to the 60th anniversary of the Mr. Olympia to see Nick Walker redeem himself from last year and win the Olympia, which should rightly be his. There's a contingent of people out there exactly of that mindset. I know it for a fact. Okay, so, and I'm one of them in that regard. So,
Yeah.
These people now are perennially disappointed. I mean, last year, this year, it's even been said that his career is over. That is the level of conjecture we're at this point. Here's the kicker. What if the fake drugs, the body not responding, blah, 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 is a cover for the fact that the dude is really ill? He's got something wrong with him. And I don't think anyone would admit it at this point, but I argued with Dave about it. He's saying, no, it was fake drugs. He looked natural. He wasn't responding because his drugs were fake. And I'm saying, don't you even want to consider maybe the fact that he might be something wrong with him? That he's got a heart issue or congenital, heart failure issue, which is causing him to. Did you see the pictures of him? How ballooned up he is? I mean, Dave.
I did actually, and I thought that they were like old pictures.
No.
But I still, the more I go back to it though, the more it just sounds weird, like fake drugs. Like
Look, oh man, I don't wish anything bad on this guy at all, and I know it's going to get around and turn that way.
It sounds so. If
bizarre,
it's so easy
right?
to find, yeah, like that's the thing, dude. Like if you can find this stuff relatively easy, which you're saying that if you have the right connections with which this guru seems to, and I'm sure Nick has his own pals and stuff. It just doesn't seem plausible. Like, or
No.
I just don't get it. Like, how could that happen? If that happened, that's why I can't really buy into the whole thing, full throttle at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I argued with Dave for like 2 hours on the phone the other night, and his position is he looked natural. That was his opinion, and the reason why you look natural is these drugs aren't working because they're fake. And look, I wouldn't drop one of anything in my body unless I knew what it was. And I'm not alone in thinking that. If you're competing for the Mr. Olympia, the biggest title in bodybuilding, for which you missed out on last year, you should be the reigning Mr. Olympia right now. You're going to take UGL gear and not test it? I mean, come on. That is like the dumbest thing possible in this sport. Okay, so are we going to be fed this line that we're supposed to believe the dumbest thing possible as the reason why Nick, the most potential Olympia winner is gonna take that route? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. None.
I'll tell you what. My strategy would be different. I would be in a full body cast. I would be like, obviously, I was attacked by a bear. Like, how can anybody not get behind that? And
right. You were skiing in the Dolomites, and you cray. I mean, and now you're in a body cast. That would have saved face right there. I would have done that.
I was saving a baby from being mauled by a bear, and unfortunately, I had to sacrifice my spot on the Olympia stage. I feel like right then he at least gets the People's Champ Award, right? I mean, for doing that.
Right. But again, the statement has not come from his camp.
Right.
This is conjecture by experts. Okay, so the news from his camp is that his body wasn't responding. He needed rest. His body was shot. Whatever. That in and of itself is like, but you competed once in 2 years. How could your body be shot? I mean, I mean, you got guys compete 10, 12 times a year. Some of those old school 90s guys, their bodies were never shot, you know? So, um, either that or it's pointing to the case that bodybuilding has gotten so dependent on extreme measures that if the extreme measures can't be applied, the whole thing falls apart and the guy can't compete. And if that's where we're at, even with the gurus who are supposed to be the geniuses behind all of these guys, we're in a terrible state of affairs right now.
Well, I think that you should totally do that at the press conference when you're there. That'll really bring the that'll really bring the mood up. So yeah, Romano's going to be at the press conference this year, and so we don't know exactly what he's doing, but he's going to have a mic.
Yeah.
And who knows if maybe they're going to give you one of those shock collars. So if you do start to go rogue, you just get buzzed. Because look, I think look, the whole point. These press conferences, there's like a few moments, right? A few bites that you get if you're lucky that make it worthwhile. That give it something that have a entertainment value to it. So the tough questions that get asked, that's what actually produces that, right? Or if somebody gets the game and wants to go ahead and start like talking trash to somebody, which is fine too.
Right.
But I'm just curious. Like, would you bring this up? Would you bring something about Nick up, or do you think that they're going to say, don't bring anything about Nick up, because who wants to be reminded that a person we so heavily promoted to be here isn't here?
I don't know what they're going to tell me, and quite honestly, I'm okay with anything. So I'm so honored to have been asked to be on that panel. I can't even tell you, but I mean, I would sort of couch it maybe towards the thing that I've been complaining about for years is the continued, and we've talked about it many times on the show, is the continued and increasing reliance that the athlete has on the guru, on the coach. So they're basically putting their lives in these guys' hands, and that guy should be responsible for the outcome if you're going to give up all of your, reasoning to the guru. And we go back to the Olympia competitor I interviewed who said he waits for, next to his phone for the first, for his coach to call to tell him what to eat. Okay. So if that's the level we're at, the drugs then have to be considered as part of the guru's domain. They have to be. He's in charge. So it's up to the guru. Now, my question would be, has bodybuilding become too reliant on the guru? That's what I think it has. Because go back to the day, Rich Gaspari took second in the Olympia 3 years in a row, never had a coach. Nobody, never. Okay, so you're supposed to do this yourself. That's the whole point. It's a singular sport. It's not a team sport. As much as people like to think it's, team blah, blah, blah. It's not. It's you. You're the bodybuilder. It's your name, your number. You're on stage. You're competing. You have a support staff behind you. Absolutely. Somebody to help you cook your meals. Somebody to help you, second set of eyes to tell you what. But to give up.
Jesus Christ.
You're baking cakes over there.
my life is just a mess right now. Yeah, but who's going to say yes, dude? Okay, you bring that up. Who's going to say yes? Because they're going to alienate their coach or their guru. Or I can understand people that don't, because that's something that they can speak to. But I don't see anybody having. It's an ego blow when you say that to somebody that actually is reliant on somebody so much. No one's going to be like, you know what? I do. You're fired, buddy. Get out of here. Like, no one's going to say that. They're going to stick up for them.
Well, they probably should. I mean, go back to the contractor and the cabinet's not fitting. What, you gonna hire that contractor again for the next job? No, you're gonna move on. So, I don't know the dynamics of the relationship between Nick Walker and his coach. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that ultimately somebody needs to be responsible, and it should be the athlete. And I think that the influx of the gurus and the coaches being so tied in to the competitor that they're actually appearing on stage with them to accept the award. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the world in any other sport. So I'm just absolutely boggled by the fact that number one, he's not competing. Number
Yeah.
two, he's being allowed to drop out without a contentious medical issue, just saying, my body's not responding, I don't look good, so I'm not competing. Contractually, he should have to take the L. So that's just the way it is. Sorry, shit happens. You didn't look good this year. Come back next year. Your fans still want to see you whether you look good or not. So
Yeah. But okay, but so you're saying he should show up, even though you just said he looks a specific way. It looks kind of puffier than maybe people would expect this close to this show. Uh, and he should show up and get on stage and just embarrass himself because that's not what he wants to put out there. So
well,
how do you
no,
rectify this?
yeah, that's a tough one, man. It's tough. Look, it's tough to march into battle knowing you're going to get killed. It's one of the most important. I mean, this is like the guys going to D-Day, on the boat. I mean, they knew they were going to get mowed down by German machine guns. They went anyway. It's what you got to do. I mean, so if I was his coach, I would say, look, man, you got to show up. So let's do the best we can with what we've got. And you're going to take the L, but let's make it as least painful as possible. I wouldn't have allowed him to go to the Chinese buffet and start grazing if that's what happened. But I was so blown away by how big and puffy he was that it just led me to believe that there's something medically wrong with him, that it wasn't just wanton grazing at the buffet. Something's wrong. But that's just
Yeah.
my opinion. Holds zero water. All I'm
I
saying
mean,
is, look at
yeah.
the guy. Look at the guy and tell me nothing's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. I just looked that up this morning. That's how I know and this is more information that I got from anybody, and we're just kind of speculating. But again, I I don't know. I don't know how you get out of this, right? If you're this close and you're like, holy shit, it's not working. This is bad for a whole bunch of different reasons. Because also,
Right.
I'm sure that there's sponsors that he works with and people that were counting on him to show up. So, but would they rather have him show up in a condition that would have people be like, "What happened?" and or would they have it be like, you know what, dude's skipping. He's still going to be there, taking pictures and making sure that we get our brand where we need it. So maybe they give him a pass. Again, it doesn't help the promoters of the show, but
No. I'm looking at this purely from a business standpoint, from the promoter standpoint, and the fan standpoint, because they're both intertwined. If you don't have happy fans, you're not going to have ticket sales. Your promoter is going to suffer. Okay, so the fan is the ultimate deciding factor in this whole thing, and the fans want to see their guy. So, like I said, if I was the coach and we looked at it 2 weeks out and said, man, something's wrong. You're not responding and the drugs aren't working, or you're sick or something. Okay. It and I think enough has gone south in our industry that the news of another grave illness is another black eye that we don't want to show. So I hope there's nothing wrong with Nick, and I just would rather it be the fact that his gear was fake, like Dave says, and work with that. If that was the case, if completely putting away a health issue, completely divorcing ourselves of a health issue, there's no health issue. It's only, if that's the case, it's only the fact that his prep didn't go good for whatever reason. He still has to compete. He's got to do the best he can, not go graze and get blown up if that's really what happened. Come in as best you can. Use those 2 weeks to get as dialed in as you possibly can. You're going to go in there and maybe not even crack the top 10. That means you got to come back next year for redemption. That's what you got to do. That's the
yeah, and I
nature of
guess
competition.
you
And it's
know
not like
somebody
the
just
guy's.
wrote an.
Sorry.
Go ahead, dude.
I was going to say, it's not like the guy's 50 years old. He's a kid. So I mean, he's got plenty of time ahead of him if there's nothing wrong with him. So if there's nothing wrong with him, you got to do the best you can, come in, take the loss, come back next year and redeem yourself. That's what should happen.
Yeah, I mean it's also tough because you come out and say that I'm not competing and it's for this reason, and then obviously when you look different than people are expecting, of course they're somebody Nico just said could be kidney issues because he's holding a lot of like look a lot of people are going to start to speculate, but there's maybe a reason that he's not being forthcoming if that's even the case. I don't know, but it's just a bummer. Yeah, it's just a lot. I mean, it's
Yeah, it is, man. This is you got and the icing on the cake is the fact that this is the 60th anniversary of the Olympia. I mean, everybody's coming. The eyeballs are anybody who has any interest in bodybuilding whatsoever is not missing this show. This is a big deal. This is the biggest deal we've probably ever had. So to miss it for whatever reason, other than a grave medical issue, I think is a huge mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought the '07 Sacramento Pro was the biggest in the industry, but I was clearly wrong. But we'll be live streaming from there. I'm getting there Thursday and setting up. Hopefully everything works. I'll have to put some disclaimers up there because inevitably we're gonna have people like, "You suck. Put up the stage." It's like, dude, I can't do that. Like contractually, like we have some pretty strict rules to follow. People pay for that, so it's hard. But I think there are times that in and around the muscle and fitness booth to some of the other booths that are connected in the brands that Jake Wood also owns, there'll be a lot of bodybuilding legends. Like I think a lot of them, most of the living champs are going to be there. So I'll do my best to at the very least capture that. I don't need to be talking during it, but like I'll just like
that's another good point. Everybody who's anybody is going to be there, including all the living former Mr. Olympias. And I will bet you, if you asked any of them, they would agree with me. They would say, "Sorry, man, take the loss. You got to compete." How many of those guys have looked at themselves in the mirror 2 weeks out and said, "Man, I'm off"? It happens. Yeah. It happens all the time. But what do? They go in, they don't look as good as they could have. We've seen it 100 times, and they take the loss and they come back and they do better again later. That's what should happen, because you got to look at it from the pragmatic standpoint of what if it was the top 5 guys who decided tomorrow morning they don't look good. They're all going to quit. What if the promoter drives up to Vegas and says, I don't like the stage. Let's just not have the show at all.
It's too warm out. Let's cancel it.
Too hot. Nobody wants to stand
98 degrees there. Good God.
Yeah, let's cancel it. So, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Do you let one guy bow out because he doesn't look good? Or do you let 2 guys do it? Maybe 3, top 5? Where do you draw the line? I mean, what?
Yeah, Samson's got a question. He says, "How come Tonio, Brandon Hendrickson, Rami, Regan Grimes, Dasha, and Baruz, etc., are not in the Olympia, and not a word from anybody?" Well, those folks didn't drop out this close.
No, but I mean, Baruz couldn't get a visa, so I mean, that's not his fault. And you want to talk about a potential Mr. Olympia? Holy crap, that guy is insane. But Baruz, how do you pronounce his last name?
Oh, I don't know. I assumed I said it wrong.
You just said it.
Yeah, but I just made it up. I don't know. I mean, I was just reading it. I was using I don't know.
How I messed everybody. Good.
I messed everybody's name up, dude. So it's like I'm just go for it, and I'm waiting for somebody to be like, "Wow, what was that person just said?" Yeah. But yeah,
what are the comments? I can't read the comments. What are they saying?
They're saying, "Nice beanie, Romano. Did you trim your beard?" No, they're saying no. A lot of them are. Look, they're in the same boat. A lot of people are definitely saying the same things you're saying, that it's a weak move or whatever. And it's hard for, and I understand it, but it's hard for me to take a definitive stance on this when I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know anything about his health
Right.
or whatnot. I just know what we've been told. Oh, he said Tonio and Hendrickson recently dropped out and no one said anything. I wonder. I don't know. I don't. But maybe they had. Did they have
Yeah, but
medical reasons? I
why did they drop out?
yeah.
And
And so
you got to also put it into the perspective of the top players. Okay, the poster only has the top guys. You don't put the 17th place guy on the poster. Okay, the top 5 get on the poster. So it's been promoted that one of the top bodybuilders in the world is competing in the Olympia. Now, days before the Olympia, it's being reported that one of these top guys in the world is just not showing up because he
yeah.
doesn't look good.
Okay, I will ask Skyman. Just give me a second. I'm just gonna gear up for that one. But okay. So, Over the Road wants to know if Andrew Jack gets his proportions and symmetry like Paul Dillette, will he be Mr. Olympia?
Could be. He's definitely a contender. So's Samson Doda, and I think those two. Hunter Labrado looked freaking amazing at the last show he competed in. So I think there's definitely great athletes up there who should be mixing it up with Nick, and he should be mixing it up back. And I think it's a tremendous disservice to the fans that have been looking forward to this battle. And one of the main warriors who was not there last year is now also not going to be there this year. And I think that is going to be a really hard issue for him to overcome, going into next year.
Somebody asked if Jay Cutler would be there. I assume he would be.
All Jay Cutler lives there. All of the former Mr. Olympias are going to be there.
I was trying to get the dude that he's like the CEO of Tyson 2.0, and he works with Ric Flair. I was trying to get him to come hang out for a bit. We'll see. He lives in Vegas too, and I was like, "Come on over." Me and Frank talked to him. We'll see. All right, Romano Scatman wants to know how many booster shots do you have?
Booster shots? Like, what's a booster shot?
Okay. All right. How? Okay.
Does he mean a COVID vaccine?
Yeah.
I never got that fucking thing. I also never got COVID. So
there you go. See?
There you go.
Okay. I thought this was going to go down a deep, dark rabbit hole, and I'm glad that that's all.
I'm assuming that's what he's talking about because it's the only.
Yeah. How many? Okay. The other thing is, John, how excited is Greg Valentino for this Olympia? So why? I don't like.
I'm not sure if Greg even knows it's going to go on this weekend. I'm going to have to call him and remind him.
Do you think Youngie? Okay, Romano, another one over the road. And I'm glad that everybody likes to ask John questions because if you ask me these questions, I'll tell you what, I would just say, I don't know. Do you think many younger bodybuilders today are entitled and either want to make top placings or they don't compete? Seems like 80s and 90s bodybuilders competed no matter what.
Right. Well, that's a very good point, and that's being illustrated right now, right before our eyes. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, what we've talked about is there's more ways to make money now than just competing, right? So the pressure to get on a stage and get to build a fan base, you don't have to. So I understand in the 80s and 90s they would just do that and compete and come what may, but now I think it's people trying to make a living at this, and maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know, but I could just see being like, you know what, I don't look good. It's going to cost a lot of money for me to get there, whether it's Olympia or something else. So I'm not going to go, and I'm just going to do 50 posts on my Instagram or TikTok page, and I'll make my money that way.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the problem, or in the mix of the situation. But look, we all wanted to make money being bodybuilders from day one of being a bodybuilder. So that was obviously everyone's dream. I'm going to be a bodybuilder and get rich doing it. So it's only come true for a small handful of people in this sport. So the ability to get yourself out there and accomplish something like that is definitely aided by social media, but it's also works the other way. Social media can bury you. I mean, if social media gets pissed off enough at Nick, they're gonna annihilate him online. Cancel him, do all the shit that they can possibly do because they're pissed off enough to do it. Is that going to happen? Probably not, but it could. I mean, it's something you have to consider, especially if you're relying on social media to bring you the other way.
Yeah.
So it's got to cut both ways.
I got a question for anybody out there too. Who is going to be buying this pay-per-view, and how much does it cost to purchase it?
Depends on what country you live in.
Right. Well, that's true. But let's say it seems like a handful of people that are on here are
I'd buy it. I mean,
from the
if I wasn't
States.
going to it, I'd buy it. I bought it last year.
Did you? I
I've,
thought we
I've,
gave you.
I've actually,
No, we
I've
gave you a
actually,
code. We gave you a code. You didn't pay for it.
that's true. I didn't, but I have paid for it before. No, you did. You gave me the code. No, you didn't give me the code. You gave me the code for something else.
Really?
I think so.
All right. Well,
I
then you
don't
paid
remember.
for it. Thanks, man.
Even if,
Thanks.
even if you did, I will say that I have sat in my hotel room. I have bought the pay-per-view, sat in my hotel room and watched it there because it's just more comfortable. You're watching the screen anyway, unless you have really, really, really good seats. You're watching the screen anyway, so you might as well watch the screen with your feet up and and order a spicy tuna rolls next to you. So
Wow. So, Chad on the
I
road
think the
said it's
pay-per-view
$79. Is that true? $79? Is that for
could
the
be
week? Wow. For the weekend?
probably.
I don't know. I'm asking for. I'm legitimately asking because I know. Look, I understand that it's an expensive show to put together. But
Hugely expensive.
right. I just didn't know. I don't know how if people are like, you know what, I will. I don't know how much also that they're watching, right? Because it depends on what you actually want to see. Um, it's like if you just want to see Chris Bumstead or you want to see who wins the Open, then I'm like $80 is a lot to fork over for that, right? So, and you also don't know. Is there a schedule? Is there like a run of show to see when people come on or no?
I remember last year I got access. Whether you gave me the code or I bought the code, I don't remember. But either way, I got the code,
I don't know. Okay.
and the code was good for the weekend. So I got to
Okay.
see. I could have watched any of the women's shows, any of the men's shows, and they were all included in the code. So I don't know if you could buy one show at a time. I don't think you can. It wouldn't make any sense. It would be difficult to accomplish. But you got to remember, if it's $79 in America, it's probably $15 in India. It's so you got to balance the rest of the world with what we charged in order to get it to a price point where enough people can afford it that will do it will make it a success. If you posted, $79 pay-per-view in Bangladesh, you're not going to get any viewers. But if
Yeah.
it's
No, I
$10,
understand that.
you probably would. So
I understand that. I guess that was, this is just a legitimate question, right? Because I know the Arnold put out their stream for free. And yeah, I'm not involved in any of the finances or decision making or anything really Olympia related. Like I usually learn about it after everybody else, to be honest with you. So it's not like I'm going with like inside information here. I do know
right.
that it takes a lot of time, effort, and money to put it on. I just don't know. Again, $80 is a lot of money. I mean, it's to get. I wonder how many people pay for it, or if they just wait for social media and then wait for the following day for somebody to post, their Insta, like they're taking video on their phone. I don't know.
Well, they're not going to let you take video on your phone. I mean, look, there's a lot of cheap people out there that would rather, get everything for free, and you can't blame them. Things that cost a lot of money these days. But I think you alluded to a minute ago, I don't think anybody understands the enormity of the company Jake owns and how many verticals are involved in the making up that company, how intertwined they are, and how expensive it is to man it, to move it, to put it on, and to take it down, and bring it home, and process it, and put out a legitimate product. So that's a hugely expensive and detail oriented task. And you know, I think the pay-per-view, whatever it is worth it. I mean, I'd pay 150 for it if that's what it was. I mean, if it's that big a deal. So I think $79 is a bargain if you get 2 days worth of shows. So if you're interested in it, but I think it's a good deal.
Look, and I'm sure it's not just made up, right? They didn't just make it up and say, you know what, let's just do $79. Like,
Right.
let's just try. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and it's probably trying their best to recoup any type of, any type of revenue and profit to get to
Right.
put this thing on again. I mean, the objective is to make it bigger and better each year. I just don't know
Exactly.
how much of the stream that actually, that actually goes. Is that we're taking Olympia placing prediction contest, 10 pounds of cheese?
What was that?
Am I don't think so. Again, how could I partake? I'll ask people who. Here's the thing. I'm going to get there on Thursday. I'm going to test the setup. I'm going to have to set everything up. This year, this is crazy. Can you believe it? They're actually going to have microphones and cables and table, so supposedly, and
What?
yeah. So that last year I had to do it all myself. I
I
did
thought we were going to
everything.
use. I thought we were going to use the digital muscle set. We're not going to do that.
I don't think so, dude.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think so. Probably not. I think what we're gonna do is like each brand has their own little hub, and I don't know what that's gonna be used for. Again, as I said, I know my I'm working with what I got and all the information I have. And the information I have is we told Frank and I had a conversation with the folks way back months ago, explain what it is that we'd want. I don't even know if half that's going to be there. I'm just going to hope. And if it's not, I'm going to bring stuff anyway. But, what we're going to do is we're going to try to have fun. I want to
Yeah.
have fun. I want to not be. Sometimes I just feel like a lot of people take themselves so seriously there because they're
Yeah.
trying to sell something or be noticed, and that's fine. But it's hard for me to just sit there and be, especially when we get competitors like, how you feeling? Like, ugh. Dude,
Oh yeah. That's a
I'm sure
great
you're feeling
question.
fantastic and you want to talk to me. Uh, like, but Frank and I are working on snagging a handful of peeps that we know. I don't even say peeps. I don't know why I would say that. We usually say people. But yeah, we're gonna try to grab a handful of people, and we'll see, man. We're gonna let it rip. And did Romano know Randy Savage? Does he know him? Like, know of him, or did he actually know him? Do you think he
No,
looks like him? Is that why you're saying it?
I didn't know him. No, I know who he is. I've
Of
seen
course.
him before, but
Yeah.
I don't hang out with him. No.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
or I
Randy
didn't hang
Poffo.
out.
Well, I did start that McMahon series on Netflix.
I saw that.
I'm only one episode deep, but
How is it?
oof. Uh I mean, I don't know. It's kind of as you know what's coming. It's kind of like you're waiting for the shoe to
The
drop.
shoe to drop.
Yeah, it's like, but it sounds like he had a, he's
He's an interesting dude.
he is. It's and his dad was seemed like a pretty stiff guy.
Yeah.
Told him he loved him once, basically, and he gets teary just talking about that. So the guy does have a heart somewhere, but he just he's clearly got some issues going on and did some disgusting things.
Yep.
So we'll see, but yeah, tell us what do you want Romano to ask? He's going to be on this. He's going to be on this panel at the press conference.
I'm gonna
And let's
try.
see.
I'm cutting it close. If my plane is delayed 5 minutes, I'm not gonna make it.
All right. Well, then what he'll do is he'll just bust in. He'll kick the door in, and he'll make
Yeah,
his grand entrance.
they don't want to drop me in after it starts. So I have to be there. I have to be there before noon. And like I said, my flight gets in at 10:45. I got one buddy of mine I can call and ask him for a ride and try to shave some minutes off. But if he can't do it, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tight. I might have to call. I might have to call. I might have to call a car and have a limo take me or something. I don't know.
Look at you, limo. All right. You can
They're the
expense
only ones
that?
that'll stand there and cut the line for you. So I don't know. I'm not going to pack a bag. I'm going to bring a, carry on only, and hopefully I can, squeeze my way in. We'll see what happens.
See, my bag is the bag I check isn't even my clothes. It's all the gear I bring.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
almost 150 pounds worth of stuff last year. It was miserable. I'm glad
Wow.
I'm not bringing that much this year. I'm just gonna do. Uh, I'm trying to go much lighter, but it was a lot, dude. It was,
I
it was a
know.
lot. Joe
So,
Patero said, Pitero said
yeah,
Romano
Carol.
has an interesting article coming up.
Yep, I do.
On what?
This
You not
Nick
telling me?
Walker thing. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so okay. Is it gonna? Well, is it? I'm assuming the stance you just took is going to be,
That's the
you
brunt
know,
of the article right there. Unless you guys have something else you want me to ask at the press conference. I mean, if you want to pipe up now or forever hold your peace. But I think this is a huge issue and somebody needs to talk about it.
yeah. Do you think that some of the other people are kind of going to be irritated that it's dominating what people are talking about, or do you think it's just, you know what, fine,
Mm.
people are still talking, so
Well, the only bad publicity is no publicity. So as long as people are talking, there's that's a good thing. I think I just don't like seeing bad precedents being set, and especially especially when you have such a volatile or delicate hierarchy of competitors that we have. So, I mean, we split hairs to such a degree placing these guys that I mean, a half a percent one way or the other makes a difference. So you're in a very very delicate situation, and you know everything counts. So I think by going back to the same premise, I think if you allow a competitor to bow out simply because he doesn't like the way he looks, you're setting a very, very, very bad precedent for the future of the competition because the promoters are never going to be able to rely on the lineup.
well, first one shot thinks you should ask them how they would handle the storm cleanup and the damage in the south. I was thinking, yeah, you could really go out of left field and say, ask them what their Halloween costumes are going to be. These are all the questions people want to know. You know,
Yeah, like the Olympia being so close to Halloween, do you ever use your condition for your Halloween costume?
yeah, there you
That,
go.
that's a nice
That's
milk toast question I could ask.
see. Chad on the road says, he said, like I said, Nick Walker is becoming the new Kai Green. Compete, yes, compete, no. I hate that, but that's where we're at. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that by the same Kai Green's a great example. He should have competed. Look, I think so much. I think so much attention is paid to how these guys have to look that the idea of them being seen in anything less than perfect condition is sacrilege. And I think that is wrong. I think
Mhm.
part of the deal is if you're going to compete in the Olympia, that you have to be ready to compete in the Olympia. And if you blow it, you blow it. You got to take the loss. It's just you got to take the loss. There's just no two ways about it. You tried, you failed. You have to assume your failure. You cannot push your failure off onto the sidelines and hope nobody notices.
Scatman says Ronnie Coleman could be the Hunchback in Notre Dame the way he walks today. I'll tell him. I'm sure he wants to hear that from me. So
Yeah,
I'll tell him.
that's a really nice thing to say to a guy who's had like 19 back surgeries and is in bad and is suffering for it. So that's a real
What
nice comment.
what else is he? What else is going on with him though? Right. So like obviously I know he had the back surgeries, but is he healthy? Because I feel like he's still making a lot of appearances and he's still
Yeah,
doing
he
things.
pushes himself. He gets himself around and he does what he's got to do. The guy's half crippled, and you got to laud him for the effort he puts into continuing. He still
That's him
goes to
right
the
here.
gym. He
Where is it?
tries
That's
training.
his. It's blurry,
What?
but that's his picture. He's
Oh
sitting on
yeah,
the throne.
yep,
Yeah.
right up there. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Brandon
I
Curry
mean,
was in the hospital the night before the O, and he still competed. That's
a
true.
great point. Great point. Great point.
See,
Absolutely a great point. Brandon Curry was in the hospital the day before. He knew he wasn't at 100%. He knew he didn't look right. He competed anyway and took the loss. That is what you're supposed to do.
Chad on the road going for that byline by John Romano with Chad on the road. See, he's going for the to contribute. But
Cool.
I'm curious though. Yeah, I guess how this all happens, how this all like unfolds, and whether there's more to the story. And you know, it's hard because this stuff comes up and people say what they think, and then there's no guarantee it's accurate or if it's right. And then I don't know, everybody backtracks if it's not, and it's fine. I don't know. It's just to me, there's a lot of speculation happening, and I just overall hope the dude is okay.
That's the main thing. That's the
Mhm.
main thing because I'm not buying it on its face. I'm just not
Mhm.
buying it. So I think there's like you just said, I think there's something bigger. We don't know what it is. It's not being disclosed, but I just cannot accept that Nick Walker, after not competing last year because of an injury, is not competing this year because he missed his mark and doesn't look good. His body's not responding. His body's shot, blah, 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 whatever. I'm just not buying that. I think there's something deeper here. I think there's something, um, and I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. And this is just, a kind of entitlement issue that should be nipped in the bud and not allowed to happen. And I think we need to rely on the people in charge here to do the right thing, and make sure that there is some kind of sanction in place that makes it very difficult, if not impossible, for the next guy to come around next year who decides, well, I know I'm on the poster, they've spent tons of money promoting me, but my body's not responding and I just don't look good and I'm not going to compete. I don't want to see that happen ever. So if it's being allowed to happen this time, shame on everybody involved that's allowing it to happen, because it should never happen.
Okay, well, let's run with that for a second. Let's say that there is no medical issue and it's just a decision of you said I'm not it's not working. What is the sanction? What can you do to somebody? Is it just not allow them to participate in X amount of years? Like, what is it that you could actually deliver as a sanction that would have an impact?
There's all kinds of reprisal you can attach
What?
to. Well, first of all, you have to go back to the contract. What does the contract say? I haven't read it. I don't know what it says. I don't know
Yeah.
what the competitive requirements are or the obligations are. I have no idea. So if there is a clause in the contract that says you can't bow out barring some kind of significant medical issue, then there's got to be some kind of sanction, because you can't rewrite your own rules. So
Yeah. I just
that's
don't
a
know what that
big
would
issue.
be. Like I
Well,
just
it
don't
could be all
understand what it would.
it could be a suspension, it could be a ban, it could be a fine, it could be all kinds of shit. They could, the sky's the limit if they want to institute some kind of punishment for this to dissuade, not to punish Nick, but to dissuade the next guy from doing it. This should not happen. It should not happen. A top 5 competitor in the Olympia, days before the Olympia, should not be allowed to bow out because he doesn't like the way he looks. That should not be allowed. So how do you enforce the rule? That's up to the powers that be. I don't think, look, this did not happen without any kind of discussion from powerful people involved. I'm not going to name names, but this did not happen without any discussion.
Okay, so you're
Whomever it
talking,
was.
but you're talking. Okay, but that's where I have a question, right? Is it more of a? Are you talking about sanctions from both the folks that run the specific contest as well as the IFBB Pro League, or are you talking about? Are they maybe? I don't know. Like, who are you talking? Because there's both. There's two different things here, right? Because one is the actual federation here that puts on all these shows. The other one is the actual show itself, which is one of many. It's an important one, but it's one of many in the overall scheme of things, right? So I don't know, like that. This is genuinely me asking, how in the hell do you untangle this, and what can you do to somebody that is A, popular, B, up and coming, and because you don't want everybody else to do that too. You don't want to say, well, you know what, he
No,
did it, so I did it. So I just don't know. I
exactly,
mean,
exactly. Well, there's two. You made a good. You're making a great point right now. There's two
finally, whew.
concomitant issues. One is the federation. What are the rules?
Hmm.
The other is the promoter. What does the
Right.
contract say?
Hmm.
So the athlete signs the contract with the promoter. I know there's a contract. I've seen them before. I was married to a Olympia competitor, and she got the contract, so I know they get a contract.
Yes.
So um, the terms and conditions of that contract are obviously negotiated by lawyers. So I'm sure that everybody's contract is a little bit different. They're nuanced, of course, because there's a lot of money involved, and there's different levels of people involved. So contractually, between the promoter and the athlete, there is an issue. Secondarily, there is an issue between the federation and the competitor because the
Hmm.
federation sets the rules.
Right.
So, what do those rules say? That you can just bow out when you want to? I don't think they say that. So, uh, you know, it comes down. It comes down to who is letting this happen. Okay, so there was definitely discussions. There could not possibly not have been. I do not believe for a second that
Right.
you know Nick Walker called up Jake Wood or Jim Mannion or Steve Weinberger and said, "Yeah, I don't look good. I'm not responding. My body's not. I'm not going to compete." It did not go like that. There were
Right.
discussions. Okay, somehow, somewhere along that line of discussions, it got to be okay that, again, we are assuming there's no medical issue. We are, maybe there is and it's being covered up. We don't know. But assuming there's no medical issue, this is just a matter of aesthetics. If it is just a matter of aesthetics, this should not be allowed to happen. So your question is what's the remedy here? The
Right.
remedy has to be a sanction of some kind, of some sort,
Oh my
to
gosh.
dissuade anybody else from doing this, because this is ultimately detrimental to the promoter. Like I said, if the top 5 guys all of a sudden decide they're on the poster, we promoted them all year, now they decide days away from the competition before we can do anything about it, media wise, that we're going to just let this happen. So next
Yeah.
year, next year, all from Monday after the Olympia till the next Olympia, we're going to be promoting next year's Olympia. We're going to and as soon as the posters come out and the tickets start getting sold, and people are under the impression that these guys on the poster are showing up, then we get to showtime and none of them are there.
Hmm.
That's a disaster. That's a
Yeah.
huge financial disaster. You're going to have people asking for their money back. You're going to have all kinds of issues regarding that. You can't let that happen. So, like I said before, if it's good for one, it's good for all. If you're going to let Nick do it, you got to let them all do it. If all of them do it, the Olympia's fucked. So, what are you going to do? Somebody's got to do something here.
Poof, man. I bet you that's an added stress nobody wanted to deal with.
Oh, I'm sure no
On
one wants to deal
any,
with it.
no, especially this close to this thing, because right now it just from past experiences. I'm sure it's about tying up loose ends, making sure things are where they need to be, and things are being delivered on time, and that the expo hall is going to be set up, and all this stuff is there's costs that could come to that. There's unions that need to be paid. It's like there's a whole bunch of
Yeah.
stuff that happens, and then to see somebody that is a young, popular person just say that they're not going to be there, that's just like, oof, boy.
Yeah, I mean, the right thing to do would have been, once he realized whether his drugs weren't working or his body wasn't working or whatever the reason is, as soon as that determination was made, and the potential dropout was a consideration, there should have been an announcement in his camp that, we're sorry, Nick is not going to show up at the top of his game, but he is showing up because the fans want him there.
Mm.
And yeah, the fans would like to see him at 100%, but they're going to respect him a hell of a lot more if he shows up like Brandon Curry did, after being in the hospital the night before, and take the loss. I mean, we're in a situation here where 100% seems to be the bellwether, and if you're not at 100%, you can decide, not to compete. It's a terrible, terrible precedent to be setting.
Hmm. I'm curious how this all shakes out, and I'm curious to be what the response will be. I heard, Rubenitez 7. I heard that, from what I read, he was going to show up as a spectator. But
I'm sure he's got to be there contractually with some one of his endorsement contracts. He's going to have to work somebody's booth. I mean, I can't imagine that they're going to let him out of everything and then he's not even going to Vegas. I doubt seriously that's happening, but it could. I mean,
yeah, I mean, also, if it were me, I would do everything I could not to show up, because the amount of people that are going to be asking about it's going to be Groundhog Day, about just constantly asking about it. It's like I'm sure already he's done with the text messages and the emails and all of the tags on social media with people
all the
talking
social
about
media
it.
posts. Yeah,
Oh
the
God, I would
DM
shut
box
down.
must be full. Yeah,
Yeah,
I would. That's the problem here. One of the problems is you've got so much attention
yeah.
being paid in so many different areas around this, is that if he does show up, it's all he's going to be doing is telling the same story, like you just said, Groundhog Day. It's going to be telling the same story a billion times over the course of the weekend. And you got to hope it's a story good enough for everybody to buy hook, line, and sinker, because if the Palumbo fake gear reason is valid, I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. I'm not buying it mainly because of the amount of impact that the gurus have on their clients. So, could you imagine Hani Rambod, in this situation? I can't. I mean, I could not imagine that. So, if you're going to rely on the guru, you're going to rely on the guru, and the guru has got to take it whether it's good or bad. If you're not going to rely on the guru, then it's up to you, and you got to take it whether it's good or bad. Or the team, the guru and the competitor can take it whether it's good or bad. But to be able to usurp the public trust in the
Yeah.
fact that the poster says he's going to be there, I bought a ticket based on the fact that my favorite bodybuilder in the world is going to be there. I made a trip to Vegas, bought a hotel room, paid the exorbitant prices for everything involved, from taxi cabs to eating. And
Mhm.
I'm faced with the fact that my favorite bodybuilder that I did all of this for now is not there. You think you're going to be pissed?
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely think so. So the Real Report just said that there's another one from Greg D saying that it was low cardio as well. That's something else that came up. But again, I keep going back to this. I'm guessing that is it Jensen, his coach. That's him.
Yeah, I believe
Okay,
so.
I'm guessing that he trains other people too, right? So if if the other people that he works with aren't having these effects, why would it be isolated? That's why the whole
Good
bad
point.
gear thing seems
Another good
very
point.
strange to me. And like, I don't know. I just don't know where that came from. I just don't get it.
Well, I mean, Dave's reasoning is that he saw the way he looked and he said he looked natural. And he's seen it before. I've seen it before. I've definitely seen the effects of fake gear on a bodybuilder. They look natural. They're not striated. They're not busting out of their skin. They're not full. They're not big. There's definitely differences between natural guys and not
Right.
natural guys.
So, okay, but the question is, what are they putting in their body that, like, and I know you can't pinpoint it, right? Because you didn't test it. But in your experience, what has been inserted for, like, what has been substituted?
Well, just there's nothing in it. It's just oil. There's no
Oh,
compound in it. That's the worst case. The second worst case is it's underdosed. The third worst case is that it's not what the label says it is.
yeah.
So, I mean, if you're relying on trenbolone, for example,
Mhm.
as one of your drugs, the raw material for trenbolone is very expensive. It's about 10 times what the raw material for testosterone is. So, could you
Wow.
be getting, underdosed testosterone dissolved in the bottle of oil with a label on it that some guy printed in his backyard? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's why we sell roid tests for $20. I mean, $20. You know, I mean, you're gonna rely on some gear that you've never used before from some dude you don't know, from some guy who says it's great, and you're doing this to compete in the Mr. Olympia, and you're not going to spend $20 to test it. That is so far past dumb. I can't even put a label on it. So, and that is the risk that the guru is taking, because this guy that Nick is using as his coach doesn't have a Mr. Olympia to his pedigree. So if Nick won the Olympia, that's a big boost for the guru, because he can claim he's got a Mr. Olympia. Now he's got to claim the opposite. Mm-hmm. He's got an un-Mr. Olympia for whatever reason. Is he going to take the blame for it? Is he going to stand up and say, yeah, I should have tested his shit? Or, I cut his cardio before I was who's going to take the blame for this? Not only who's going to take the blame, is who's going to take the sanction. Something has to happen here.
Well, I mean, with going by what you said before, if the person would jump on stage and take credit for the win, wouldn't they also then take credit for the loss? I don't know.
They should. Mm-hmm. They should. I don't see any gurus jumping out on stage for the guy that took fourth. So obviously, it's
that's my guy. That's him. That's him.
Exactly.
Let's see. Joe says Ronnie had a hard time doing the Arnold in the Olympia. Nick's body can't take 2 peaks in a year. You think that was it? You think it's because he did? But he had to do the show. But he had to do the show to.
That is the most bullshit excuse in the entire world. I know, guy. Silvio Samuel competed 13 times in 1 year.
I do remember that.
Body wasn't shot. Kevin Levrone competed 67 times in his career, sometimes 8, 9, 10, 7, 8 times a year. So don't tell me that you can't peak twice in a year. Not buying it. So it's the amount of work you do. It's the amount of effort you put in. It's the amount of sacrifice and suffering that you put in. That's what makes you compete numerous times in a year. So that was bullshit. How does he know what Ronnie thinks his issues were peaking twice in 1 year? That's total supposition.
Well, his last name is is Coleman, so he knows him because they're related. I don't know.
But Coleman is such a unique name.
But you said it too that if you really want to, you can go do as many shows as you want. Doesn't mean you're going to be pristine at each one, but I don't know. Like, I don't think it's out of the question. It doesn't seem to me, there's a lot of just weird, fishy things that are going on to me. It just doesn't seem it doesn't seem right that I feel like the gear thing, I'm just having a hard time jumping on board with that. I don't know. As I said, but what do I know? I don't know anything. I mean, I'm just sitting here speculating like the rest of everybody.
Well, yeah. What are they saying?
They're saying that Real Report says Nick left him before, then came back, and I think Nick gets money from him to be his coach. So you think the coach pays him? Oof! Wow, that would be interesting. And Joe Coleman says, Ronnie said that once in an interview, and Scatman says the only thing in common is the Coleman mustard, and wait, what is going now? Now one person says the Street Spirit 95 says the volume is so low. Is it really? Come on, why? What is going on? I'm putting everything up. God dang it! All right,
how's my volume? My volume good.
I think I'm gonna pop yours I'm gonna pop yours up to 90, bro. Let's see if these bastards can do 90. Hopefully somebody gets the Back to the Future reference out there, but probably nobody. Hopefully that's better, Street Spirit 95. But what do you think? I mean, you got something to say about this. I mean, everybody does. Maybe maybe you're Street Spirit 95. Your last name is Walker, and you have more information than the rest of us. But
I want to know what you guys think. I mean, do you guys think I'm out of my mind? I want to know what you guys think. I mean, should Nick be taking some kind of sanction for non-medical. Again, I will stress this to the day I die, is that it is a non-medical issue. If this is a medical issue, totally different story. But so far, it's being promoted as a non-medical issue. So that being the case, what do you guys think? Should he have to compete, or is it okay to bow out at the last minute?
Again, you can't unless it's a contract, unless it's a contractual thing. You can't force somebody to do that, right? I mean, you can't.
Well,
You can't. You could say, I'm gonna fine you. I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna whatever you, if that's the case, if you're in breach of contract. But I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody's going to be able to turn his mind around at this point. Obviously, he wouldn't come out and
it's
say it.
too
And
late.
cause
I
this,
mean,
yeah,
it's definitely too late now. This should have happened in the decision process. It should have been a discussion between Nick and his coach,
yeah,
where they realized at some point, not that long ago, that he's not going to make it. Okay. The decision should have been, okay, we're going to let that cat out of the bag, but we're not going to let the fans and the promoter down. We're going to show up anyway as best we possibly can. Going to the Chinese buffet and grazing is not an option. We got to do the best we can, tighten it up as much as we can in the time we got left, get real drugs if the fake ones are really truly fake. Try to get a couple of weeks of something in your system to try to help some way or another, and dry out as best you can. Do whatever you can and look as best as you possibly can under the circumstances. Get out there, make the promoter and the fans happy, take your loss, go home, and come back next year.
right.
That's
Okay,
what should happen.
so we do have some updates. First one shot says I think it's shit if he backs out. Should be fine for a no show. That's I mean, do you know anybody that's ever been fined in competition for doing something that outside of the rules? Obviously not this. This is probably a little bit more
Yeah, no, I don't know anybody has gotten
public.
I think I have heard years ago stories of guys getting fined for not competing, but I think that's why they made it a contractual obligation that once they sign the contract, they have to show up,
Mm-hmm.
or they're in breach
Okay.
of contract. Breach of contract has its own remedies.
Right.
So, I don't know if that's happened to anybody, but I have seen more stories like Brandon Curry's that some difficulty was encountered, caused a non-100% showing. They went in anyway, took the loss, and went home and came back next year. That's what should happen.
Okay, we got some more. We got some more people chiming in. I think this is good. There's
Good.
a lot of different ones. Real Report says, "What do you guys think of Nick crying in the video?" I didn't watch the entire video. I saw a couple screen grabs and then I just read it. I read kind of what was said. I didn't even know that he cried. I'm sure I'm sure it's not.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
uncomfortable.
This is devastating.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
uncomfortable.
devastating. Yeah.
Also, to spend all that time, in doing this, and especially after missing it last year, I'm sure that it was not this easy
No.
decision. Regardless of it's a heartbreaker, man. Like I get pissed off if I'm like going to a movie and I can't go. Like so, this is this is like.
Well, I keep harping on the fans and the promoter, but let's take a minute and get inside of Nick's head. I mean, this has got to be devastating for him. He missed last year because of an injury. Let's say it is the fake gear. Let's just say that's the case. I'm not saying it is, but let's say it is.
Mhm.
If that's the case, can you imagine psychologically what you're geezing all this gear and you're training your ass off and you're sticking to your diet, you're doing everything you're supposed to do because that's the kind of guy he is. I mean, he is they call him the mutant for a reason. So you're him and you're going through all of this and it's not happening. It's not working. That has got to be devastating, especially considering what happened last year. So, man, my heart bleeds for him. But at the same time, I think you got to man up, accept the fact, and you got to take the loss. You got to do it.
Okay, a couple other ones. So yeah, I mean, I definitely understand you getting emotional. Street Spirit 95 says even if Nick was at his best shape, he would struggle to get top 5. The competition is too great now, and he doesn't have the structure for it. I mean, that's definitely that's an opinion, sure. And
not backed up by recent facts, but anyway.
Right. Loho says sanction. Yeah, if he didn't compete because he didn't look good enough for his taste, I agree with John. Only if it's not a health issue. Yes, that's exactly what he's saying. If it's a health issue, everything else goes out the door because
Yep.
listen, you put your health first. You have to. I mean, that's all you got really when you come down to it. Then, if I'm saying it wrong, dude, just tell me because I don't. Rubenitez7 says, how often does the issue of body not responding occur in the industry? Probably a lot, but just not this close with such a major player in such a major competition, right? This close to it. So I'm
Look,
sure that happens often. John, you coach people. How much
yes,
do you have to
I
switch
was just
them?
gonna I was just gonna say that I can 5 guys at least, girls too, that I told them, look, one was a CrossFit guy. I had to tell him not to compete. Okay, so in the games, in the CrossFit games, I had to tell him, dude, you can't go. And that was a drug testing issue. But he didn't do certain things I told him to do. We got to ground zero, and I had no way of telling him, what to expect because he didn't do what I told him to do. So there's that. Then there's the guys who legitimately can't do it. This is a very getting ready for a bodybuilding competition, especially an elite bodybuilding competition, is probably one of, if not the hardest thing in the world to do. It is extraordinarily difficult. It is extremely hard. I have had lawyers, doctors, business people, all walks of life that have had to do incredibly difficult things to accomplish their goals to all tell me the same exact thing. Getting ready for this show is the hardest thing I ever did. So this is definitely a difficult pursuit. Everyone's body is not cut out for it. There are some guys that just can't get in shape. It's just not in their makeup. So they don't compete. I've had competitors who thought they could, who have competed before, who've made it to the stage, who have done everything they're supposed to do, and it just wasn't happening. Yeah, we decided for them not to compete. They didn't have a contract. They weren't obligated to compete. They weren't on a poster. They didn't make any promises. The only promises they made were their fans online and their social media following who had to accept it. So, yeah, it happens. It happens. But we have the compounding factor here of contractual obligations, promotional obligations, and public trust. Public trust is a huge issue in sports. Public trust means that you go to a competition believing that you paid money to see a fair competition, to see the rules being followed, to see that nobody's cheating. Public trust is an important element of competitive sports. And it's made worse in our situation because this is a subjective sport. It's based on the winner law. Winning or losing is based on somebody's opinion, not how many points you scored, how fast you ran, what the clock said, the scoreboard says, etc. It is based on opinion. So going in based on opinion, if you know you don't look good, the opinion of the other people is going to be the same. You don't look good. So there you have it. But, the public trust in this case is being violated.
Yeah, hmm. A couple more. One, TRT is it prohibited? I don't think anybody's actually like asking anybody what they take. I think it's kind of like you do what you do. Yeah. I don't know about CrossFit. I know that was another question.
No,
I don't know. I don't.
CrossFit, it's not allowed.
Okay. Even if it's doctor prescribed.
Nope, not allowed.
Wow, that's rough. I mean, because what if you have it actually? Like, what if you need it? I guess they just don't care.
Pick another sport.
Scatman's got a good question, I think, or a good comment. Has the coach ever taken a bigger hit when something like this comes up or somebody doesn't perform? Or does it always fall on the competitor? And that goes back to what you said, John, about how everyone's quick to jump on stage and share the accolades and get in the pictures and be part of the celebration. But when things don't go right, do they have the same, the same responsibility to jump out there and say, "Yeah, that was me. My bad."
Yeah, well, I mean that is their responsibility. Actually, if they're going to take the win, they got to take the loss too. I mean, come on, that's what's fair. There's this kind of assumption that if you call yourself a bodybuilder, that you're entitled to compete and that you should compete.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not always the case. There's
Right.
extenuating circumstances that should keep you off the stage if they exist. It's up to you whether or not you want to accept them. You know, it's like you said, with the CrossFit thing. Well, what if the doctor prescribed it? Sorry, you can't do it. Then you might have to pick another
Jeez.
sport. Bodybuilding's the same way. If you can't do it, you might have to pick another sport. There's no guarantee that just because you want to do this, that you can do it.
Does this make you angry? I feel like you're a little angry at this.
Yeah, I am angry at this because, first of all, I'm a Nick Walker fan. I wanted to see him compete. I believed he should be Mr. Olympia right now. That's where I'm at. So
Yeah.
yeah, as a fan, I'm totally disappointed and angry that this is going on. What would make me angrier or less angry is why. So if
Hmm.
we get a definitive reason that the drugs were fake, I'm going to be really pissed. If it turns out that he's got a serious medical issue, I'm going to be, upset for him and his
Yeah.
family, not because I didn't get to see him. So,
Right. Yeah, of course.
that's the case. But again, I don't believe we're being fed the whole story. So if it is in fact going to be the fake gear story, I am not buying it.
Yeah.
And that's just, I just, if that is going to be the excuse, I just cannot fathom that the players involved in that specific element of contest prep would be that stupid. I just can't accept it. Now, you go back to the guru, you know, yeah, if you coach a Mr. Olympia, your stock as a guru goes way the hell up. You get to charge whatever you want. It's a big business move for you. And I think it's incredibly loyal of Nick to stick with his coach and go through all of this. And that's all really good things. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to take responsibility here and, eat the crow.
Yeah. It comes down to this too, that it's such a bad claiming fake drugs or fake gear. Boy, there's already stigmas that come with bodybuilding, right? And bodybuilding competitions. And no matter what happens, people automatically bring up that. It's the steroids, it's the whatever. So just coming out with this, I feel like it just makes it even worse. And if that's the case, that's sucky because I know that people in the inside the bubble know that this is, it's kind of an open secret and people do what they do, but I don't know. I feel like it's just not good. It's just not a good thing.
It's not, because the fake drug thing should not be a consideration as an excuse, because
Right.
first of all, it clearly states in the IFBB rules that the drugs are banned. You're not allowed to use them.
Right. Yeah.
Secondarily, the U.S. government has scheduled them 3 on the DEA's list of banned substances. They are illegal. They are felonious substances. So if you're going to blame the drugs, you have to be both admitting that you're breaking the IFBB rules and that you are breaking federal law. Both. So I don't think that's a good move to make right there. So
No. Oof. Jeez. Oh man. Listen, we've gone on for almost an hour and a half, and who knows? Maybe we'll get some more. Maybe we'll get some more info on Thursday. You know what? On Thursday, John, I know that we're both going to be heading to Vegas, but who knows? Maybe whether I can set things up quick, or maybe we can even just kind of meet up in a room and just knock some stuff out. It'd be good if you hear anything while you're on the ground. It'd be
right
interesting.
After the press, if I make it to the press conference. If I don't make the press conference, we'll just do it then.
Yeah,
I'm going to try it. I'm doing everything I can to get there.
So that way we'll try to keep you guys updated with anything we find. And we will be doing some live stuff from the expo. Honestly, I will tell you this. It's going to be a lot of running around and a lot of trying to get people to come hang with us, or screw it. We're just going to have to go have some fun, but we cannot show the stage. I can't show prejudging. Trust me, I will be vilified. I will be thrown out. So I can't do that. But we will try to get some people together, and hopefully we can try to get at least some cool products and show you what they got. Last year, I actually got a couple things from Diamond Dallas Page you gave me, and we've kept in touch since off and on. he gave me these power cuffs. It's just blood flow restriction training that I think we talked about, and it's
that
fine.
works.
Look, yeah,
If
it
you can
definitely
handle
works.
it works. Yep.
It definitely works, and it was
training.
it's also like it was nice to change it up and to try it. Like it's a crazy, it's crazy expensive product. So when he gave it to me, I'm going to try it out. What do you mean? What about the expo, dude? The expo is so I'm going there Thursday. The expo starts Friday. The expo's Friday and Saturday. So Thursday I'm going to go try to set up. We're going to have, we're going to do some live streams if we can get the internet set up. I asked for it. If not, then I'll use the hotspot, which is the worst, and it's so embarrassing because it looks like we filmed it on a potato. So we're gonna do that, and yeah, I'm gonna put some time in Thursday. I really want this to be something cool and something fun, and have us be able to. No, I can film at the expo. I can't film the stage. I can't film prejudging at the expo for any of the divisions because. It's some people pay for that, like that's something that specific sponsors pay for to have, and it's just never gonna happen. But people always inevitably curse at me and call me horrible names because they're like, why don't you show the stage? Like, dude, what do you want me to do? Come on. Like, I'm trying my best here.
We have restrictions. There's some things we can do. There's some things we can't do. It's the way it is.
Yeah, the other good thing is I'm trying. Okay. So Jay says Derek's going to win again anyway because it's all political. Listen, it's possible. Listen, like everybody's got, I saw 50 other people say that they think a bunch of other people are going to, win too. So we'll see. But we're going to have fun. And if there's anything that we can, find out or, help you tell us, we'll look for it. Just leave a comment. You could leave it on this. You could send it to any of the socials. You could send it to me directly or John directly. I'm pretty awful at social media, but I'm worse. I just don't have it in me. I just can't. Honestly, I post something and I'm just like, oh God.
I really try, and it is not part of my brain wiring.
Honestly, it's for me. It's because I always, from the minute I got to WWE, this is what they told me out of the gate. And I swear, this is a direct quote. Nobody cares about you. Nobody gives a fuck about you. They care about the talent. And I said, okay. And I was never like, I always thought of myself as a conduit for the audience, not the subject. Now with social media, it pays to put yourself out there. And I just can't. I know there's a lot of other folks and influencers that are going to be there. And honestly, I usually don't know who they are. I think Jesse James West, he'll be there doing some stuff for Muscle, some stuff with Frank, Sepe. So they'll be there. Who was the guy? Noel Deasy. I don't even know, whatever. Nice guy, super nice guy. He's another dude that I think he'll be there. But, the truth is I don't follow any of these folks. I couldn't pick them out of a lineup, and they know probably as much about me as I do them. So yeah, I'll try my best though. If there's something you guys want me to do or know, I'll go dig it up. So just let us know, man.
All right.
All right. We're going to jump, but thanks everybody. There's a pretty busy comment section. This is cool. Thanks a lot. Romano is going to step on stage. That's right. He's going to do it. That's good. Big announcement. He's going to rappel into the press conference in just his thong, his man thong. So
after the show is over and the janitors are sweeping the floor, I'm going to walk right across that stage.
He's going to grab his title and he's going to get the people's champ. He's going to win it all. This guy, he's the big winner. But all right, guys, we'll see you Thursday, hopefully.